Hello, hello. It's your astrologer friend Kimberly here, covering this week's astrology. We're talking about Monday, 13th of July to Sunday, the 19th of July. Mercury is still retrograde. I hope you are faring okay during these weird and wonderful times of Mercury retrograde. I am feeling it this time, and so are the people around me. So, some of my friends commenting on kind of minor skirmishes and disasters that are going on. Some things are going fine. I myself have been having public transport angst again. Today I missed my stop. I did the same thing last week. It is never ending. In Japan, it seems to be that little bit extra difficult to get off at the right bloody stop because I seem to daydream, I guess, during Mercury retrograde with transport. Anyway, hope you're doing well. And let me just tell you that this week's astrology is ramping up to be the most important and illustrious and game-changing and exciting astrology that we've had. The last 10 days have also been groundbreaking or kind of electrifying in certain ways, as we had the Mars-Uranus conjunction last Friday, Saturday. So I have observed what's been going on with that. And I would say that, I would say mental health issues were really touched by that Mars-Uranus conjunction in Gemini, sign of labeling and also cerebral qualities. Mars being action and anger and outbursts, and Uranus being the planet of great awakenings, but also perspective and overview, and also tech and innovation, but also progress and forward thinking. So when you have Mars, Uranus together, that electrical energy that is just kind of shooting through people can obviously come out sideways, can obviously be, I wouldn't say confusing, but overwhelming on some level. And I would say that there is such an ability to label ourselves and others with mental health conditions these days without necessarily getting diagnosed. We can all kind of, I don't want to say point the finger, but like we can all kind of relate on some level. It's very similar to talking the language of astrology. We can all kind of relate to each other on some level. ADHD or different, bipolar, all these different labels that we have for people and their behaviors. However, I would say that what do we do with those labels once we've labeled everything? Once we've labeled all the jars in the cupboard, what are we going to make out of that ingredients? How are we going to treat those conditions? How are we going to navigate, mitigate, and operate around such conditions? So to me, Gemini being the intellectual energy that allows us to kind of diagnose and label and kind of make sense of things. But with Mercury retrograde, perhaps there being a bit of a wayward energy that's going on as well, with that Mars-Uranus spike that we experienced around the 4th of July, fireworks, as some people related, being that fireworky day of 4th of July. Anyhow, let's get on with this week. The major thing that we've got going on this week, guys, is the new moon in Cancer. And I have demonstrated here, I've just put the moon right back to 29 degrees, 59 minutes of Gemini. And there we see the moon entering Cancer around, Sunday evening at 11:46 Sunday evening. So really, really late on Sunday night. Moon enters Cancer. It's domicile sign. It's sign where it is most at home, most comfortable. And of course, you know that the moon, our pearly satellite, our wondrous, cosmic giant that moves the tides and pulls on our emotions, the moon guides, nurturing. It governs the zodiac sign Cancer. So Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's coming home to roost. It is guiding us to acknowledge sentimentality, how we're feeling, and so on and so forth. So as we move into Monday, you can kind of, not guarantee, but you can see this as a time to be very focused and aware of Cancerian themes, residential issues, property issues, family, parents, nurturing, caretaking, feeding, fueling, comforting, nourishing, all that kind of ancestral lineage type themes, properties. But look here, Mercury and the Sun are conjunct with this co-presence of the moon. You can see there around 1 in the morning on Monday. So we move into this new week with such a concentrated energy on the Cancer area of our chart. And while Jupiter is no longer in this sector of the skies, we have just had a year of Jupiter in Cancer, exalted, boosting, developing, growing our consciousness around Cancerian themes. It's Cancer season too. We're having this new moon in Cancer, new moon, new beginnings. But Mercury is rowing his boat backwards in this water sign, making sure that we go over all of the different, all of the different topics and interests that have come up for examination, that have been floating to the surface over the past year, right? It's not just about this single isolated Cancer season, in my opinion. We are being given the opportunity to seal off the Jupiter transit in style, right? We're being given the opportunity to make sure that we've examined all the different things that we've learnt, right, since Jupiter's been in Cancer. However, what we've got there, that Moon Mercury conjunction, is called a cazimi, and it's when Mercury is in the beams of the sun, the rays of the sun. The sun is so powerful that it blows Mercury out of the water and all that Mercury stands for, i.e., communications, thinking, cerebral qualities, all the connectivity that we get, all the ability to make sense of things. So, Monday is not about logic, it's about feelings, heart over head, yada, yada, yada. You get the impression. We are going to be in our feelings. We are going to be thinking about our needs without necessarily, making a shopping list, right? Let's not wallow. Let's not get too far snuggled into a comfy blanket that we can't see the wood for the trees. But I would imagine it is going to be a bit of an overwhelming, interesting day to be enmeshed with our thinking, or not, as the case may be. The moon will square Neptune and then later Saturn on its path through Cancer. However, because the moon is in its domicile sign, I believe it is smooth sailing, it is strong, it is on course for new moon, it is quietly approaching that Mercury Sun conjunction. So I'm saying live and let live, let that moon inspire you to take time in the womb, in your cozy den, resting, nesting, planning what ideal home you want to live in, planning what feels safe and comforting to you, planning your nurturing tendencies or how close you want to be to people, that kind of thing. Maybe could be a whole world of different things going on with this new moon. There's millions of us. It's going to be varied. Anyway, we work our way down to that new moon moment. Remember, new moons are new beginnings, seeding moments. You do not need to take action, especially with Mercury retrograde. You do not need to leap into pulling off the wallpaper on your walls unless you did it a couple of weeks ago. And this is your new beginning retrograde moment to kind of rip down the wallpaper on your interior design project. No, this is time for quiet contemplation, meditation of what you would like to do moving forward, perhaps with the first quarter moon, perhaps celebrating progress at the full moon. But new moons are for that quiet, contemplative moment, right? Then late on Tuesday, we get the moon entering Leo, and this is very important, okay? The moon in Leo adds spice and drama. Here we have the moon in a fire sign, and by Wednesday lunchtime, around 1 o'clock, we're going to have the moon having made its conjunction to Jupiter. The moon will be opposing, not Wednesday lunchtime, that will be Wednesday lunchtime in Japan, but let's say Wednesday morning, touching the day, the moon will be opposite Pluto, trine Neptune, and sextile Uranus in Gemini. The moon is bringing us into Baphomet's basket. The moon is drawing us into the most important astrological cosmic configuration that we have seen since COVID. Guys, you know I'm not a sensationalist. You know I'm not someone to over-egg the custard and make a big drama deal out of nothing. But I literally told my partner earlier today, I was like, this is huge. Look out for things that are kicking off, that are culturally significant, that are part of the zeitgeist, that really tell us about kings and the people, whether it's bloody King Charles and, him hitting the news headlines for whatever reasons, whether it's politicians, heads of state, you name it. This is a time when stuff is noteworthy. Now, of course, Mercury's retrograde, so there could still be a quality that things are concealed, hidden, that we're not really being informed of everything that's going on. However, stuff's going on, guys. Stuff is going on, and Wednesday is one of those heated moments on a micro level, like macro, kings and rulers, stuff's going down. On a micro level, you could be experiencing a lot of pressure at this Wednesday midweek mark because of the Moon Pluto opposition, because of Jupiter stepping closer to that Pluto opposition. And with this trine to Neptune, things being loosey-goosey, free-flowing, ever so artistic, ever so creative, ever so abundant, Uranus being there saying, make a change, go for it, press the button. It is very spicy energy, very spicy energy. It's so wild. It's really, really saying something. So we've got Moon meets Jupiter, sextiles Uranus, trines Neptune, opposes Pluto, all in the matter of minutes. And then later on Thursday, the Moon will sextile Mars and trine Saturn, which is slightly easier energy to deal with. So I think Wednesday is going to be like the burst, and then Thursday is kind of like the follow-up with slightly more grounded sensibilities, because Mars is taking action, but Saturn is allowing us a little bit of steadiness, even though it's pretty aggressive stuff going on. Whew, that's a lot. So watch out for that one, guys. Then on Friday, very, very early doors, we get the moon entering Virgo. So what will happen when the moon enters Scorpio next week is that we'll be having the Scorpio house of the horoscope as a concentrated point. It's called a yod, and the same thing's happening in Virgo right here, right now. And this is reminiscent of last autumn when Virgo season started. I remember actually I was writing horoscopes back then, and this same configuration was going on. As I say, Pluto and Neptune are huge planets for the cultural zeitgeist, for things that are happening on a massive macro scale. They influence trends, what's, appearing publicly to catch our eyes or be delivered to us, to scare us, to enchant us, to, basically draw us in. And I believe that this Moon Venus moment might be allowing us to be a little bit shrewd about what we digest. Maybe we'll be able to be a tiny bit more selective and what's it called now? We'll have a little bit more clarity around our feelings around things and metabolizing things. The moon and Venus in this area of the chart are activating things within us that aren't typically activated. We very rarely have anything but the moon going through Virgo, unless it's Virgo season and we've got Mercury and Venus and Mars close by. But really, it's it's an area of the horoscope that's experiencing a lull, and it's the area of work and earnest digestion. It's the area that keeps the cogs turning. And so at this point, with the moon and Venus in Virgo, it's a good opportunity to kind of get back to basics, hit reality, and make the appointments, or just see where perfectionism and being critical is not serving you or others. We have a bit of a spicy aspect with the moon square to Uranus, but I don't think that is the main concern this week. We are very much still in that configuration. Then, interestingly, the next kind of pop-in thing that happens is the moon enters Virgo on Sunday, very early doors on Sunday. Here we are again activating Baphomet's basket / this astrological configuration. So I want you to see here how Moon, Pluto, Uranus, and Mars are all in the air signs, right? All in the signs of civilization, humanity, people, relationships. You know, there is a massive emphasis on what is going on in our communities, among people, checking in with your people, being a part of a group, being aware of the people that you need, and how you're relating and getting on with people. And then at the same time, Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter all in fiery zodiac signs, Aries and Leo, Jupiter in Leo. So that really kicks off and picks up on the energy that is incredibly yang, that is incredibly dynamic. We also have planets in yin, it's Cancer season. We've got Mercury and Sun and Venus in Cancer and Virgo, which is yin, which is more passive, which is more placated energy. But really, a lot of this energy is going on in spiky, dynamic signs. So this is a moment that really, really picks up, especially as the moon gets to 4 degrees around 1 o'clock on Sunday. And this is the moment moving into the following week when Jupiter opposes Pluto. So you remember when the moon was with Pluto in Leo, that was very dramatic and kind of like bloody drama school time. But here is just as confronting. The Jupiter will start to oppose Pluto. Jupiter will start to oppose powermonger Pluto. This is very, very, very strong energy. Also, Jupiter and Neptune being the planets of faith and spirituality. Do we have a spiritual war on our hands? Are we stepping closer to people being so impassioned and boomer-like over their own perspective and their own side of the coin? I'm seeing a lot of racist rhetoric coming up as well. Just being people like stating things as if they're true, which is very, very disconcerting to me as somebody who's basically, lives abroad, not an expat. I'm a bloody immigrant, aren't I? So, that's very, very confronting to me, hearing people being racist, because I'm on the bloody end of it. So, Moon configured with all of those, and Mars sextile Saturn in Aries, finishing the week with that spicy little aspect there as well. So if you have questions, if you have comments, please let me know. I probably know your chart off by heart, or I may know your situation, your circumstance, and be able to describe to you what this is activating for you. But needless to say, it is a very, very, very eventful week, and some people are splashing optimism around with this. I am quietly optimistic, but at the same time, I am aware that we're going to be experiencing some incredible cultural moments, not just the bloody football, but some other events might be spiking up and popping up this week that really come from left field, let's say. Not the football from left field, but like other stuff that's political. As I say, Jupiter in Leo is the sign of kings. Could something happen with Prince Charles? Is there a reason he's getting together with Harry and Meghan at their country home? What's going on there? Will something happen with Trump when it becomes Leo season? It's anyone's guess. This is unprecedented astrology. It is very important. I'm here as your pal. Anyway, with that, I'm going to log off, but I'm sending all my love to you guys and stay positive, optimistic. I do see a lot of positivity in the stars, but I'm also seeing a lot of tension kicking off. So it's all to play for. All right, big hugs, and I will speak to you very, very soon.